Hey YouTube, RicoKnows here. Going to talk to you guys about the breaking news. The breaking news is Utah State intends to fire head coach Blake Anderson following an investigation, as you can see here on the headline. What you don't see in this story, and shout out to Salt Lake City, they're talking about it and everything, that he's being terminated, or at least they've notified him of termination. Per his contract, he has 14 days to respond. But the way it works is Utah State is alleging that he mishandled a sexual allegation, a sexual assault, domestic violence allegation, or something to that degree. Okay, the language they're using is saying, hey, he did his own investigation, which he's not authorized to do. He didn't report it properly up the chain of command. It's not that he did anything individually in regards to the assault or the misconduct that supposedly took place, but it's just he didn't report it properly. Now, that sounds like terrible news. That sounds like coaches sweeping things under the rug. It reminds you of Baylor or any number of institutions where they don't report things. I would say the biggest one in my lifetime that I can vividly remember is Penn State, and everybody saying was so appalled, and everybody gets fired, right? But in this particular case, if you want to know the truth, I took down notes on this other screen over here. There is a quote, and it's in this story actually, if I scroll down a little bit, from his attorney, right? And his attorney, and see, they interviewed some random girl from the school. I don't care about that. But the attorney had a very interesting quote, and I want it to be clear here. It's right here. And the quote is, I'm going to try to roll it in so you guys can see it a little bigger on your thing here. USU, Utah State University, is going to be fighting an uphill battle if they try to fire him for cause just to avoid paying Blake what he's owed. Stiffing a head coach by blaming him for what his supervisor allegedly failed to do is a novel approach that hasn't been tried before. I don't know if that was sarcasm, but that theory will never hold up in court. And what he's talking about is, you're going to try to fire my client for cause because of something that his supervisor didn't do. The implication here is he reported it to hire. They didn't push it any further. And if you're paying attention, other people were fired. The deputy athletic director, the second guy in charge, right? The deputy athletic director, Jerry Bovee, been fired. Got fired. The director of player development, Austin Albright, got fired. So if you start looking at it, this man probably went to the deputy athletic director and said, hey, this is what's occurring down on the team. Somebody on the team did this. Somebody on staff did this. And he reports it to the deputy athletic director, and it doesn't go any higher. Obviously, it should have. Should have gotten to the athletic director, should have gotten to authorities or somebody, because eventually it did. And they did a third-party investigation, and they go and fire all the men involved. But if you want to fire me, and I went out and I told the athletic director, the deputy athletic director, what occurred, and that person didn't report it. So was I supposed to wake up the next morning and tell another person and another person and another person? I don't know the parameters of the issue. They're not being very specific. They're not giving us all the details. But it sounds like a lot of people should be fired. And I just like to know why we stop at the deputy athletic director and the head coach. You can say, well, we're not going to fire somebody who didn't know about the allegation. Okay, so you don't fire the athletic director. But should you have known? Should you have better control? Because I'm going to tell you right now, when you don't know everything, right, there's a term for that. There's a violation for that within the NCAA. And they go around and say a lack of institutional control. And that could fall upon the president, the athletic director, the head coaches, whoever. Tell me why there's something only at the football level. Why do we cap it at the head coach and the deputy athletic director and nobody above? Was it just them at the bottom? If that's the case, then that's the case, right? But as far as holding up in court, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think, and let me be clear what we're arguing about here. What we're talking about is you can fire a coach whenever you want. Let's be very clear. You can fire a football coach whenever you want. You just have to pay the buyout. If it's not for cause, You just have to pay the buyout. You can still fire him. And he's going to walk off and take his 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 million. I don't know what it is. Right? This is a great head coach. He's already won the Mountain West while he's been there. He was great at Arkansas State. This is a good coach. You look at the product on the field, pretty damn good. But obviously, we do not ignore infractions, misconduct, because you're good at football or because you're good at coaching football. I don't get down with that at all day. If you're a criminal, you're a criminal. If you're wrong, you're wrong. I never back you. But if this head coach became aware of an allegation against one of his players or staff members, and he reported it to the deputy athletic director, and he stopped there, unless you have him in an email or a text or on a recording saying, please don't tell anybody else, unless you have him conspiring to keep this under wraps, what are we doing here? How is it his fault? I'm thinking out loud. I don't get it, right? I'm in the military. I was in the military for over 21 years. I was a first sergeant. I'm in charge of a company. I'm in charge of 150 people. And if somebody came to me with an issue and there was an allegation of misconduct and I reported it to my higher echelon, my battalion commander, or the battalion XO, if you will, in this regard, the deputy commander, if I reported it to the battalion XO, who's a major, and I said, hey, this is what's happening down in my company, I was going to tell the commander, but he or she's in a meeting right now. He or she is traveling. They're busy. Could you please pass this message along? And they don't pass the message along. They don't pass the investigation along. They don't pass the allegation along. Who's to blame? Now, it's not equivalent because in the military we have other checks and balances. We have commanders at our own echelon that are required to report up and then back brief, and we can't do anything without, checks and balances and other approval layers. But the premise is still the same. If you are a leader and you report it to somebody above your chain of command, above your threshold, above your purview, how's it on you? Unless you didn't double tap, right? Unless you brought it up once and never brought it up again. That's pretty crazy. It's unfortunate. I just want to make sure that people understand that if a university fires you, they're still going to pay you. They got to pay you. Unless it was utterly blatant in your contract, a violation for cause in your contract. And right here, he didn't have the misconduct. I think he checked all the boxes as far as who he's supposed to report it to. I would assume. I don't know all the details. As we get more, we'll know. So I just want to make it very clear. By the way, defensive coordinator Nate Dreiling is the new head coach, or at least the interim head coach for now. All players on the roster have a 30-day window where they can enter the transfer portal. I'd imagine they're all going to be tampered with. There are some very good players at Utah State. Very good players. A lot of players were valued. They had 3 running backs. One of them transferred to Mississippi State. They have 4 quarterbacks. Okay, they have really good players at Utah State. You got to watch the game. They got a receiver out of this world. Royals. Like, you guys got to pay attention to how good Utah State is. They've been evaluating talent great. But Diana Sabu, that is the athletic director. I want to know how you get off scot-free. How do you still have a job? I'd love to know. That's just where I'm at. You can say what you want to say, but Elizabeth Cantwell, the president, is a woman. This is a university run by women, bro. Vilify the men all you want. Fire them all you want. I just want to know how you guys are keeping your jobs. So I'm curious. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Stay up, y'all. Peace.